Welcome back, campaigners. This is Campaign Terrain. I'm your host, That Guy Cross, and today I'm going to be continuing my platform with the stairs on it that I started last week. In preparation for that, I was getting my hot glue gun out, and all of that, and so I realized that I needed to make another one of these little racks for some paints and stains, and so I'm actually working on that right now while we ramp up. And if I see anybody, show up or anything, so that's going to be pretty simple. It's just a little grid pattern, and it holds the 4 bottles like that. These 2 pieces in the middle have to overlap, so I offset the cuts on those, so those 2 cuts will slide into each other. And then I'll be gluing these in the middle here once I'm done. I'm going to put a tiny drop of glue a couple places here just to keep this lined up here in the middle, and then it'll just drop in at the end, and like one little drop of glue will hold it in place. So a little bit of glue in there, a little bit of glue in there, nothing to it. Okay, now each of these is offset by the width of one of these. So each one is going to go a little bit inside that little edge. And then when I continue it all around, they'll all meet up. So again, just like last week with all of the stair building, a little bit of glue. Use this to keep it square as possible or actually as plumb as possible for now. And that's just to get it started. Once it's going, it's going to be pretty simple. Okay, and again, a little bit of glue on this one, and a little bit of glue on the edge of this one. That's way too much, but that's all right. This isn't going to be a pretty piece. This is just to hold some stains. Okay, so again, keep that plumb by setting that up straight and square. Make sure that it's all lined up here on the end. That's going to give me my gap I need on this end here for my third wall. I don't know if y'all can finally hear me. YouTube's treating me badly tonight. Something wrong with the stream. I'm not sure what. Trying to fix it right now. I'll go watch myself in a different browser. See if that works. Yeah, YouTube's been messing with me today. I've adjusted it to public like 4 or 5 times, and every time I do it, switches it back to unlisted. So maybe y'all can hear me. Maybe you can't. I don't know. So let's try this again. All right. As I was saying, I'm going to work on the stairs from last week again in just a moment. But right now, I'm making since I already had the foam core and the knives and everything out, I'm going to make another one of these little holders for my other stains. So go ahead and put the knife up for safety. All right, I've already finished using that. Now, in this last one, I'm going to have to put glue in 3 different places all at once. So it's going to be a little tricky, but no big deal. This is similar to the box I was building last week. Is why I'm continuing to show this, because it's built basically the same way as I built that box. And you'll see in just a moment. All right, glue there. And press that into place all 3 directions. X, Y, and Z axis. That's right, I said Z. I'm crazy like that. All right. So then, as I said, this one's going to go, well, y'all probably weren't here because YouTube was being weird. But as I said earlier, this is going to go right in there like that. And, oh, of course, now YouTube's saying it's not getting enough. Being futzy tonight. I don't know what's going on with it. Okay, so let's put some glue on the bottom of this. All right, take that, press it down in there. Try to get those as centered as I can. These do not have to be perfect. They just have to fit the base of those jars, little squirt bottles I'm using. All right, so as long as this one fits, we're good. These other three will just drop in there. I can let that cool off to the side. All right, now that YouTube seems to be letting me talk to y'all, I am gonna put those off to the side and we'll continue from where we left off last time. So as you can see, last time I kept all my little offcuts. Not sure why. They're gonna get used for something. And when they do, that'll be good, but they don't need to go in here. I'm not leaving them in here. I've also, you'll notice that I've added some more supports in here so it's much stronger all the way around. I also, one thing I did off camera, I noticed that I had measured these poorly and had cut them slightly too tall. And in order for that to not stand proud, I don't know if you can see my really crummy trim off job I did there by hand holding a knife, but all that's going to be in the middle, so it's not really going to matter. This piece right here is too small to worry about. So I'm just going to pull it off rather than try to glue it on. All right. Now we can jump right into it. I need to basically put glue all over this one. I'm really going to do the edges and like this support, maybe a little here. And then I'm going to press this on top, flip it over, and make sure I have it centered. Now I have this on the lower temp of the glue setting, so I got to move pretty quick here so that my glue doesn't set up. So what I think I'm actually going to do is put this glue on this one side. And then just glue that one side down and then work with it from there. Oops, messed that up. All right, some of that glue off of there. Now we're going to flip that upside down, center it, and center it, and center it, and center it, and press down. Now, a little bit of squeeze out. Want to get rid of that. If it's too big, if it's not too big, if it's just a little bit, that's going to be fine because the bricks will cover all that up. Now I got this too close to the front, but it's really not going to matter when it's all said and done. Okay, so now I'm going to put on this other half. Ooh, I completely missed with that. Peel some of that off. All this is going to get textured anyway and get sand and gravel and stuff on it later. So I don't think any of that's going to matter. But while it's still a little bit soft, I'm going to roll that off real quick and try to get rid of it best I can. But no worries if there's a little bit left on it. So it's all going to be covered up by various textures later. Okay. Now, I clearly did not do a fantastic job on this. This is going to be a little off here. I'm literally going to press this wall in to make it fit. This side where it's standing proud, I'm going to trim that off in just a minute. So, oh, is it still quiet? Let me see if I can get the mic's right in front of my mouth. Let me see if I can't get that turned up a little. That is the best I can do on the mic right now. I may just be mumbling. I'm kind of in my own zone here. All right. Hey, Ghost, I haven't seen you in a while. How you been? It is good to have Mrs. Lynn and John McElroy's Ghost here. Always enjoy having the campaigners show up and see what's going on in the live. All right, so see if I can't talk louder since I don't think the mic's going to be able to pick up louder. Now, as I said, I sort of messed that up, so I'm going to put another bead of glue deeper in, right there at the back, and then press that on there. You know, that may actually be too, no, it's fine. as I said, all this is going to get covered in bricks and sand and dirt and everything else. So I'm just going to press that and hold it. It's a little bit warped and wavy. I don't care. This is going to end up having houses and market stalls and public speaking daises and all of that put on top of it. So for right now, just going to get that to stick. So I'm going to hold that until that glue fully sets up. As everybody likes to say, the glue has to dry, but hot glue doesn't dry, it sets. So just letting it do that thing. Okay, looks like that's pretty good. Now I got to finish the rest of the way. Now, as I said, I got to press right here because I messed up on this side, and then I'll trim this off. It'll all work out. All right, so we're going to do that real quick. Gonna bead the glue along there. Oop, doesn't want to bead, wants to follow the gun. There it goes. Okay, now you can see I am pressing that in so that this lines up as well as possible right here. It's a good thing about using this thin foam rather than like big solid chunks of foam or anything, is that this is super easy to flex to where you need it to go. Sometimes you want it really precise and perfect and square. This does not need to be. All of these areas are going to get bricked over later. In fact, I'm not sure I'm even going to bother trimming that since that'll have bricks over it. No, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so that is a fun squeaky little noise. And by fun, I mean irritating. Okay, a little bit of glue to cut off there. All right, good to go. Alrighty. Okay, now this edge right here has that machined edge. It's not really gonna matter since I'm putting a layer of bricks over this and I'm butting a layer of bricks up below it. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and sand that off because it is very noticeably machined. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there's like little tiny little serrations on this. I'm gonna go ahead and sand that off. And that may sound a little weird, so I apologize if that sounds too weird. If it gets too loud or whatever, I'll stop doing. Yep, just that. And now, even if it's rough and scratched up in some places, at least it doesn't look like a modern tool machined edge. All right, now I've got to do this part here. I'm going to do the inner supports first, just a couple drops like here and here, and get some glue just on the need to rather than the want tos. And okay, now we're just going to take that, press it into place. Probably shouldn't have done this one because I'm going to need to lift this up to put glue along this edge, but I think I can make it work. All right, I didn't come across this back half either, so I'm going to combine and put some glue around this edge and this edge, and then we're good. Then I can move on to more bricking, and we can talk about anything anybody wants to. Oh, well, like I said, I can try to talk up a little louder. I'm trying not to deafen anybody. On the replay, you can always adjust the volume how you need to or whichever. All right. Okay. I don't know if you can see, but I'm squishing the glue in on top of that ridge. And unfortunately, a lot of it's falling inside. I got to kind of redo this. There we go. All right, press that into place. As I said before, any that squishes out, you don't really need to worry about because we're going to brick over it, but just to make sure, I'm just going to go ahead and smooth it down, mostly because it's hot and I don't really want to burn myself, so we'll just do what little we have to. Now, as you can see, I made it stand too proud here. This piece is exactly a foot. This part's not as good here, but I don't care. Like I said, this is all. This is technically a prototype, and this is designed to not have anything butted up against it from the front anyway. So it doesn't matter if those bricks stand out just a little bit because you're not going to notice it when playing on it. You'd only notice it if you had to press another box right up against the front. Now, I gave myself a scare. This needs to be one layer shorter than the other boxes, like it is. But man, I just had this nightmare that I had somehow cut it so it was going to be the same height. I was going to have to trim it the whole way around. No, dodged the bullet on that one. Okay, almost done. Got this whole back piece. I got to come across this side and the front, finish gluing it down. That's gonna be a little tricky since as I said, I glued it to that one support that's in there. So I'm gonna, whoops, that's too deep. Squish a bunch of glue into that gap. Then press and hold, smooth it down so I can get the bricks on it. As I said before, I'm using low temp for this. High temp can really easily melt this foam real quick. So don't want to do that. Okay, that should be setting up pretty good. Now, still got to do this corner. I'm going to try to do all of that in one go. Again, I missed the foam. Let's try that again. There we go. A little bit inside just because, and all along the front side here. Okay, now pressing that in place. Okay, that's it for the box. Now I can start doing some bricks, and that's going to get really boring really quick. So while I'm letting this set, before I bore you with the bricking like I did about 3 weeks ago, I'm going to show you where I'm going with this. And I'm also going to show you what I've taken care of with my dungeon stackers from a couple weeks ago and my dungeon tiles that went with it. So this is where I'm going with these. I want this box to eventually match so that I can have it sit beside one of these squares. So I can have it sit beside one of these squares and have them be the same height, which is why this is all going to get tiled over on the top here and on these side walls. The stairs, I'm just going to texture. I'm going to leave them like they are, leave them solid. I don't use a gridded pattern when I'm gaming, so I'm not cutting individual bricks into this. I'm just going to do it like they laid down big stone slabs to make these, or even concrete if you're playing in a world that has concrete. I've also got these other ones, which are streets. As you can see, those are one level lower. So something like this would end up being like that. Now, it'll be the same height as this block later because I'm adding a layer of bricks on top of this. And this is what they all look like when they're all painted up and done. This is my green and blue slathered on and then hit with the dry brush, which I'm going to show you some more of in just a moment. Let me get this box out of the way. Okay. A couple weeks ago, I was working on all of those dungeon stackers, and I have now gotten all of those complete. I just finished them last night. I came downstairs and slapped the final dry brush. Not final, they've actually still got 2 steps to go. But I slapped the final dry brush on these, second to final dry brush on these dungeon tiles. So I've got these, and I've got all of these dungeon stackers. And all of those have now been dry brushed and are ready for a dark wash. So I can fit all of those on here. And as you can see, these still have that visible green and blue lines where I was trying to make it look like striations in the rock. And those look noticeable now, but these are still going to get a dark wash on them. And then once they get a dark wash, they'll be hit with an even brighter and lighter handed dry brush than this. So that's where I'm at with these. As I said, just finished the last of those last night. Not finished, you know what I mean. Okay, so set these real quick. And 16. Basically, I'm just making these so I can stack them smaller. I'm going to take this batch and the other batch that you can't really see, but down there. Ooh, that's some vertigo and dizziness, isn't it? Okay, let's try that again. Oh, come on. Camera's being a butt. Okay, now, since I can fit about 16 of these on one of these squares, I'm just doubling these up so that I can then stack this square on that square. I don't know what to call these. I usually call them project boards, but they're not really boards, but you know what I mean? These things I paint on. So once I have those, then I can show you that some of those I went heavier handed with the dry brush than others, and that's fine. That's all. It's all supposed to look like natural stone anyway. So I am not upset over that. All right, so I can stack that there. These are done the exact same way. They will get, these are the individual 3x3 tiles, and those will get done the same way. They'll all end up with a darker wash put on them, then let that dry. I have to let these fully dry. I painted them last night, so they would be dry now at this point. But you need to let these fully dry at this stage, because otherwise, if you're using acrylics and then a water-based wash and all that, you can wash all of this right off. So you want to let this get really dry before you put the wash on it, which that's what they're doing now. For washes, I use all sorts of things. Sometimes I use stain sprays, which is that thing I was building that box for earlier. But I'm not using that on these. That's usually what I use on my natural looking wood. Instead, I am using one of my mini washes, and I make them super cheap from lots of different ways. This is literally instant coffee. Well, just trust me, it's got some alcohol and some salt in it to make sure nothing grows in it. And other than that, there was instant coffee. It was about a fifth of this container, and I just filled it with water. It makes the whole room smell like coffee when I use it, but that smell dissipates after a day or two. So there's that one, makes a really dark brown. I've also got a lighter brown that I made from mixing several browns just into water. And see all those suds? Those are from adding dish soap, which helps with the flow on these. But those suds irritate me beyond words. Can't even tell you. So I'm not going to be doing it again this way. Sahak Crafts did a very short video on making it today, and he mentioned the same thing. Use alcohol instead of soap. The rubbing alcohol does the same thing and doesn't get the little bubbles. So go watch Sahak Crafts. I also have a green wash, and this one's funky. It's got salt and alcohol in it, but it used a food coloring to make the green, and it has separated out and made all this gunge on the container. But the actual liquid that comes out to use as a stain looks really good. It's wonderful stuff. Again, alcohol and salt, less bubbles, and all of those. Yeah. Well, I'm dyed for life because the food coloring doesn't like to come off. So the I'll start what I was saying. Oh, so I will be stain washing those, and then hitting them with an even lighter dry brush, but that one's going to be an even lighter color and an even lighter handedness, so that I don't, it only catches the very highlights in that white. All right. So now that you know what I'm doing with my various stains, I'm also going to be staining these. These are my mass-produced all at once little signposts for games. You can put little posters on or whichever, and those are just about the right height for the guys to walk up and, you know, say, oh, look, somebody needs us to kill all them goblins, that kind of thing. So these are actually taking on a slightly orangey patina like wood does, but I'm still going to go ahead and stain these with either one of these washes or one of these stain sprays. So yeah, I've always got multiple projects going. If you just have one, the moment you got to wait for drying time, everything goes to heck. So put that off to the side. Now, this out of the way, and it'll be time to start gluing on some bricks on here. Oh, now one of these. This is one of my decks and piers pieces, and this has been hit with this stain, and it makes the wood look like this. Personally, I wish I had gone with one of the aging stains instead, but it's looking good. It'll look great. No complaints about having that on a table. Toss that down, get some boats, toss some dice, and have a seaside adventure. All right. Now, on my Discord, I have a section for Ask Me Anything. I'm going to be having an Ask Me Anything, either video or post on the Discord, and I'm not sure which yet. But I put that up there like 3 weeks ago. Nobody's asked me anything. I realize my viewer base is not that large. I get that. But I figured that people would be at least asking stupid questions. I know there are no stupid questions. You know what I mean. How many licks does it take to get that? Yeah, whatever. So I'm going to do this one with this same outside edge as this one, but inside, by popular request, and by popular request I mean one person, but they've asked me over and over and over, I will be doing all of the rest of this in herringbone, which takes a long time, so that'll be fun. I can't decide if I want to continue these squares all the way up around here, or just to here and then start the herringbone pattern right here. Any preferences? Anybody have a design they want? Oh, the brickwork looks amazing. Thank you. Yeah, this turned out a lot better than I expected. This was done by cutting a 5mm by 5mm long dowels of foam, and then just cutting it off at about 2.5 millimeters. And nope, I said that wrong. This is a centimeter by 5mm, give or take. But I made sure to not intentionally do everyone perfect. So I ended up with this multi-layered thing so that the dry brush would catch the edges. And that turned out really well. Then this, I put forth a question on my community tab of whether these bricks should face this way, or whether there should be more of this. And if it was more this, should they be offset or which? And this is the one that won. It was regular bricks going up across the gap, which I did. But in order to do that, I ended up with this little gap. And I knew I was going to because of the math. But then I just filled it in with a bunch of these, turned on their sides and cut. So yeah, that one of my favorites. I like how it turned out. Again, it's just one of those lucky things that happened. So any idea on the... Well, it's already going to have herringbone all the way across. Do you want the squares all the way up here as well, or do you want me to start the herringbone right at the front? Of course, now I can't find my squares. Oh, there they are. All right, me going and looking for those, give you time to answer or whichever. All right, so, okay, I'm going to take these and get them as close as I can to 1-inch squares. Some of these are a little large, some are a little small. So I'm going to kind of gauge that, and I want to pretty much have 12 this way and 4 this way. And I think these smaller ones, yeah, so I'm just going to have to play it by ear because the smallest ones are too small and the other ones are too large. So need to figure out what medium is, or just roll with it. I think I'm just going to roll with it. I'm just going to grab this handful and start gluing. All right, I'm going to start here at this front. Let me find 4 that are as close to 1 inch as I can get them. That's large. That's too small. That one's a good one, so I need them about this size. And what I'm going to do is put those as my 4 cardinal points and work from there. Cardinal points isn't the right word. This isn't a map, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, that one's good. That one's good. And that's too big. That one small. Yep, there we go. So these are my 4 corners, and then I'll work from there. Okay. That right there, and we're off. Now, I can and probably will, after the fact, come back and mark this spot here halfway across the tile just to have some offset on it. But not doing that right now. I'm going to do that after the fact because then I can just eyeball it. All right, so show you what we're doing here. One here. Line it up to both the edges. press it down, make sure that it doesn't rise up too much. Get that hot glue to smush around underneath there. Okay, work these other two corners here. Well, that herringbone is designed to be a different pattern because I only have one other top where I've actually done a herringbone. Let me show you what that looks like with larger tiles. Give me just a second, I'll go find that. But I think that with this border around it, herringbone across, unless you think I should put a lozenge of something else here, which I can easily do. Yeah, tablets, you know, the joys of technology. I'm sorry your tablet's arguing with you, Mrs. Lynn. Okay, those are my four, for want of a better term, cardinal points. Let me find that other herringbone piece for you and show you what I'm talking about. I say that. It's right here, but it's buried under stuff. I can see it, but I can't get to it. Just a second. There it is. Okay. This is the herringbone one. So I'm thinking of doing the same thing with this as this here, except with these much smaller bricks. So it'll be a lot more of them, and there'll be a lot more undulation and changes in the height. Height's not the right word, elevation. But now that you mention it, I think I might actually like a square, either offset here or even diagonal. Yep, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to make a diagonal lozenge there in the middle. I'm going to put the middle of that lozenge. I'm going to use these square tiles for, except they'll be diagonal between a bunch of these. So let me get this outside edge done first. Okay, now from here on out, I'm going to, as close as possible, match these edge. Whoops. This line and this line. I think I'm even going to draw those on. Now, these smaller ones aren't going to fit all the way to that edge, and I'm going to suck that up and herringbone into the wider gaps. So if the piece is too wide and is wider than my corners, I'm going to roll it off the edge and trim off the excess. But now I'm going to take straight edge. In this case, I'm using oh, forgot what these squares are called. This kind of square. I forgot the name all of a sudden. Only a carpenter for 15 years. All right, I'm gonna make a mark there. That is not gonna show up, and that's gonna leave too big a dent. So I'm gonna switch to marker. The dent's not gonna matter because it's all gonna be covered with tiles and glue. So that's one. And I'm just butting these against these other ones to get that line. Oops, didn't want to draw in there, but it's going to get 4 layers of paint. I'm good. Never sweat the small stuff. You can always repaint over this stuff later. All right, one last line, and then I'll end some more gluing in earnest. Okay. Pencil, toss the knife, toss the straight edge. Oh, I do need to measure so that I can do this in a minute. I want this to be at this halfway point of the 6 inches. Again with the marker. And then 6 inches because this board is a foot wide. So then I'm going to take this and again in 6 inches. Now it looks like I'm doing it at 5, but that's because I'm doing it on the inside piece where it's an inch narrower, but that's my center line. And that does not have to be straight with the edges. That just needs to be close enough. So I'm going to take that, and that's where the center of that lozenge I put in there. By the way, it's called a lozenge from old heraldry guidelines. If you saw a shield that was like, say it was just blue with a bunch of yellow squares. I don't think you can use blue and yellow together, but that's neither here nor there. And a bunch of those squares are placed in there just as decorative items. Each of those little things is called a lozenge. And I'm going to create a big one of those here after I'm done with this outer edge. Okay. A little bit of glue. Glue it on. As I said, I am going to make each one of these. I want a little bit of a gap here. Oh, that's a bad glare. A little bit of a gap. There you go. Here, so that I can fill that in with sand and grout later. Oh, that just does not want to. All right, sorry. Problem of using white foam. All right, so need to get about 12 of those across. I guess I'm going to have to measure these all out. I didn't want to have to do that. Chow! But I guess I'm going to. Okay, so mark, 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 mark. Okay, so I need to pretty much fill those up with 9 more and then do the same thing all the way around. Mark, mark, mark. Remember to talk to the camera. Everybody gets bored when you get quiet, Cross. Stuff going on in my head. I'm sure glad my viewers didn't hear all that. And I hope I'm not, boring you or whatever. People seem to come and stay for the duration, so I guess it's not that boring. So I appreciate each and every one of you coming. And that is a reminder to me to flash up my patrons' names. These people support me over on Patreon. I've also had a couple support me directly in real life, and I've had a couple support me in through my buymeacoffee.com. So Dungeon Matron, she's got her own Discord. You can go hang out there. Lots of other crafters just hanging out, having a chill time. So if you get a chance, you might want to head over for that. If you want the link to that, come to my Discord, and I will happily give you the link to her Discord. And then Patrick is a longtime supporter of the channel, been one of my first patrons, and I truly appreciate all that help and effort. Digital Calibrator is a real world in real life friend who has helped me with both audio and video issues. So part of this channel, even part of what you're actually even hearing and seeing right now, is greatly due to their efforts. And I can't even tell you how much I appreciate it. Now this one, I started off all kinds of messed up. So we're just going to take that one completely out and pour up some at the edge here. So we're going to take that one, a little bit of glue. I keep saying a little bit of glue. That seems to be my mantra lately, is a little bit of glue and low, slow cuts. So we're going to put that right back on. I'm going to take that one, set it aside for my scrapyard, and then start over again here. And now when I did that, I accidentally messed up this corner, so I'm going to glue that back down as well. Yep. You get to see all the hairy, hoary details when I'm doing it live. All right. So once again, squeeze out. I want to wipe that off just to get it out of the way of the bricks that you're going to be gluing on later. But those can be, even that can be worked around, so it's all good. I'm going to start at the different corner while all that glue sets. We're just going to go completely over here. And we're going to make sure that we can get 4 across here without having to trim off too much. So I'm going to take that one, and that one. This one's the widest, so we're going to put it here on this corner. And, get those out the way so you can, once again, see what I'm doing here. Oh, no! Okay, start at this corner. That lined up on both these sides. And use these other 2 to fill in between. I'm lining these up to the outside edge. I am not so much lining up the inside edge because, as I said before, I'm going to fill that with sand and grout later. So while this glue's still squidgy and movie aroundy, is that a word? I'm going to go ahead and line those up. Still can't decide if I want to come across here like this or just start my herringbone right at the edge. Now I'm going to have to brick in here, and I should have left this sticking out over that. So I think what I am going to do is brick here first and then trim that off at this level and extend the herringbone out to that edge and just make do with the fact that there's not going to be a coping right there. Maybe eventually there'll be a railing or something that I might put that will be modular and removable. That'll keep people from stepping right on the edge, or maybe medieval era didn't have ocean, people just fall to their deaths on stairwells. I don't know. So now I get to start bricking inside this stairwell, but I think I want to do that now or do this border. I think I'm going to do the border first. And then hundreds, even thousands of these little bricks again. But I'm going to sit for a second. I'm done with all my measurings. So at this point, I'm going to start. Sure I've got about the right amount here. It looks like that's going to be about good. So anybody else out there crafting or just hanging out watching me do silly stuff? I don't mind. You can sit and watch. I'm good with that. If you're crafting, that's also cool. I'll set up in the Discord. I've got a whole section for seeing y'all's works in progress and your finished works. If y'all want to do that. If you're painting minis, I've got a space for that as well. Anything you want to toss up there. I'd love to have as many people as possible in my Discord. It's always fun. It's super easy to find me there. I do answer my Discord pretty often and regularly. So if y'all want to catch me there, don't forget I've got an Ask Me Anything section on there where I'm going to be having an Ask Me Anything sort of video come up. And anything you put in there, I'll answer on the channel. Unless it's just outright, lewd. I may answer that as well, but not publicly. Internet's a weird place. Ask me anything. Get all the strange stuff you were not expecting. And that is okay. Keeps the world going round. Diversity is good. We like hearing new things. All right. Oh, yeah. There's always abandoned projects. And you're like, oh, I should get right on that. And one day you're in the right spot and you have the glue and maybe a paintbrush in your hand. You're like, you know what? It'll all get done in the end. But you got a gray plastic pile of shame. I can't help you with that one. If you got the minis hanging out, yeah, it's a whole different kettle of fish. But I get you. I'm glad I'm inspiring you. That's like my favorite word. I want to inspire people. That's literally why the channel exists, is to inspire people. It's not for me to show you how, it's to show you what you could do. So very glad to know that inspiration is occurring. Thinking more and more about breaking up these patterns, like Mrs. Lynn said, and my head is filling up with ideas of how to do that herringbone, where I can start from the middle and work my way out and have all these little edges, have to fit all those little pieces in. It'll all be fiddly, but man, it's gonna look good. So yeah, I think you're right. I think having a bunch of mixed up patterns is a good way to go. Anyone that's not seeing the chat now, that should be visible, even if you're watching this in the future. But in case you missed it, Mrs. Lynn earlier said that more broken up patterns is better than one big wide pattern. So I am doing not only the herringbone like I was already planning, but I'm also going to be putting a piece in here that breaks this area up. You're a tiny little one. You gonna fit in there? If I squeeze. I'm not gonna squeeze that. I'm actually gonna trim that off. Otherwise it'll be buckling and popping out. I don't want all that. As ever, all these little pieces I cut off, if they are at all more than a sliver, I save them and put them off in my little rubble pile. And I end up using all these little pieces like this for future rubble when I need it to fill in space here and there. Okay, now that I've trimmed that off, I need to make that not look cut. I need to make it look like more natural. So let me squish that a bit. Bottom edge doesn't matter, but this top edge does. All right, now we're going to take that glue on there, and we're going to wedge it in the other direction because it's got a finger dent in it. So we're going to put it in from the other way, and it's good. I like that. Now, as I said, I'm matching up to this line generally, so anything that sticks over here is going to end up being trimmed off. Again, I put all these little, ooh, that's a noise. Again, I put all these little pieces into my rubble pile so that I can use it later. Now, anything that's too sharp shaved, that looks too machined on this edge, will all get banged up and beat up during play or while I'm making other things, or you can go ahead and round it off yourself if you want to. Okay, do I want a coping? Problem is, I basically didn't leave myself the opportunity here. So unless I take these two pieces off and use wider ones, can't really make a coping on this. Do I want to bother? This one's standing a little bit off, and this one's not. So I think I'm going to remove this one and do large square tiles around here, and then just this part in between will be herringbone. I'm going to leave that one like it is because I can. The bricks will just about match that. This one's too far. I'm going to go ahead and cut this one off. Sorry about that squeaky. All right, save that tile. I will use that elsewhere. This one, I need a slightly wider one. That one looks good. We will take that. Attach it there. Now, I will want to cut. I'm lining it up with this line here, so I'll slide that into there, even though these are too narrow. And this glaring light, sorry about this because it's white, but there we go. These narrow ones in here are fine because I'm going to be doing a herringbone up against them, so that's fine. But this outer one, I lined up with that line, and I'm going to trim off this front edge here, but I'm going to leave this edge as a coping above those bricks. What bricks? Yeah, the ones I haven't put on yet. Shush. Okay, so now, even though this one's a little short, I'm going to leave it the way it is, and I'm going to extend these others out That is one. Hot glue is hot. Who knew? Yep. So anybody who wants to join the Discord, the link down below should be the correct one. I think I finally got that fixed. My audio's working finally. My video's been doing all right, so we're good there. And then I think everything else is pretty much okie dokie. Let me know if there's any issues with what you're hearing or seeing, and I can fix it for next time. Okay. Now, I need to offset these a little. So what I'm going to do is actually do some half-size ones of these. No, I'm not. What I'm going to do is take some of these bricks and just a few of those, and I'm going to build out this little gap right here so that my coping can sit on top of it. I want this to look one stair up, and I want this to look another stair up from that. And there's not going to be an easy way to do that without trimming these off. I think I'm just going to cut them to make them fit, so that'll work. So we will take these and we will extend that across that way. Okay. Now these are going to look completely different than the stairs. I don't care because that coping is going to cover most of that anyway. And once I've got sand and moss and everything else on this, I think it'll be fine. Like I said, this is a prototype anyway. The fact I'm even going to bother to paint this one is above and beyond what it's really needing. This is just to get the idea. I can tell you right now, I'm probably never making one with one of these boxes again. I'll use the solid cheapy packaging foam that comes in, your microwave or television or whatever. And I will take that and just make a solid block out of this. It'll be much sturdier. I believe it'll be faster, and I won't have to worry with if I'm getting more of the measurements accurate, as long as I get it generally close. So, watching a prototype that will probably be the only one ever made this way. Again, having to trim off a piece. Put that little piece in my scrap pile. Take that, put it in here. Wedge that down in the little gap. Okay. Now, with that little division there, this thing here, there's a little Death Star trench right in there. And I can take these and put them just like that. There's always that chance that thing's going to get squished down. So I'm going to fill that with a strip of foam. And I'm literally just taking one of those pieces I have left over that's already the right length for that. And that one should be the right length. Yep. And I'm going to trim that just large enough to fit in there. Again, this is why I don't throw out my scraps until I know I am done with the project. Okay, so then this will fit right in there. I'm just going to add like one or two little tiny drops of glue to hold it in place. Then wedge it down in there. It doesn't want to go. Why do you not want to go? I'll get you too close. I think I got that too close. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Oh yeah, sure did. Got that way too close. That's all right. You can make that work. So what I will do is I will squish this end, fill this with glue, not fill, just a little tiny bit. Just hold that in place while those other things sit on top of it. I'll take that, wedge it into the skinny end, and push it down into the regular end. Okay, That gives me all the support I'm going to need under that piece. Okay, now this, I don't want this to sit here because that's going to make that last step too tall. So I'm going to have to offset it. That will give me a little bit of a gap here, but I really don't care. I just don't care. This is a prototype. Glue, and I'm only putting glue on about the front 2/3 of this because I already know I'm trimming off this back part. Then I will take that, sit it right there. Here, that's too wide. I want this to sit and line up pretty much on that center point, so I'll take that. Front 2/3, give or take. Press that into place. And as you can see, those are lining up as if they are the top step. Or the landing at the top of the steps, I guess is more correct. Okay. That's good. That there, front 2/3. Line that up. It's offset just a little because that's going to make room for that coping right there. Now, before I go trimming those off, let me build this piece. Okay. That, and that. Okay. Now, that gives me my trim line across here. I'm not ready for yet, but I'll get to it. I'm going to do these two sides first. All right. Hey, loosely collected. How you doing? And Alexi, nice. Okay. Maybe the junk is my downfall. Yeah, we all have piles and piles and piles of junk. John McElroy's ghost saying that lots of stuff for scatter train because the junk piles up and then we don't craft with it. I feel you there. In my Discord, you said that you're going to go to sleep and work tomorrow, but your guess you're not sleeping. Oh, you're not sleeping, Lexi? You're just not sleeping, or you don't have work? Or are you playing hooky? All right, and loosely collecting. What's up, man? What's up? See everybody coming in, hanging out with me on your end of the weekend night. I realize a lot of us work different weird schedules, so Sunday may not mean anything to anybody. But appreciate y'all coming and hanging out of an evening. As very old British people used to say on all the sitcoms, oh, yeah, you're going out of an evening. I grew up on old British television. I'm the weirdest American, tell you what. I don't like that one. It's too thin. Bigger one here. Trying to match this pattern of these little marks on here as best I can as I go across. And I only want to go so far in, and I only want to go so far width on. I want to get close on those. I don't want to end up having like a half a tile at the end by having them messed up. So I'm following these little lines I marked on here. Now this is going to be so much easier to see once it's not all white. Ugh. All right, keeps washing out. I don't want to keep complaining, but well, technically the lights are my equipment and my responsibility. But hope it's not too bad for anybody. Okay. 2 more on this side. That one and that one, but it's going to go that way. That one's got to go that way, and then they'll both fit. Yes. Glue. Splurb that down. My word. Splurb the glue on there. Like a professional, I'm using the hot glue gun off camera. Went to school to learn that special. Okay, let's pick up the bricks. Put them back in the jar. Close the jar so I don't spill it everywhere because I'm like that. Bricks come later. Right now we're still doing tiles. In the shop, in the garage, tinkering. I love it. Some of the best creativity comes out of, I'm not really doing anything. Next thing you know, you've built something amazing. Or fixed something that's been waiting for repair for 4 years or whatever. I like tinkering. Not enough people take the time to just take the time anymore. Where are you going? You never do anything. You just, well, yeah, but I built this car. Whatever. Tinkering is good. I certainly didn't need that many. Oh well. Oh, there's a broken one. That's like rumble. Ooh. Sometimes you get weird little things. Like this one's got lots of texture on one side and almost nothing on the other. So just be aware that sometimes there is a better side than and the worst side. Use the one you think is going to look gooder. They all look good. Some things look gooder than others. Five more on this side. Some people get really irritated at the hot glue strings. They don't really, whoops, drop the tile. The strings don't really bother me. I have found several ways to get rid of them. And so I just wait till the project's ready for paint, and then I hit it with a hot glue gun. I mean, a hot air gun, and all of the wisps just disappear. Or I, depending on what it is, sometimes I literally just paint them on and be like, yeah, don't care. And even adds to some textures. And other times I pick them off or scrape them off. But I usually don't worry about them. I don't fuss with them. I know some people are like, I can't stand hot glue guns because of the wisps. And I can get that. I get that. I understand. But it is not my thing. I don't mind. Let's see. Mostly working on some cheap showing, but even cheaper last weekend. Oh, sad that the comic shop is closing down. But always there, I've gotten so many good pieces of furniture out of stores that were closing or relocating or redesigning or revamping their look or whichever. So good looking out to find discounts. Good deal. Sucks about the comic shop closing down. Of course, my head's like, I wonder if they have, I don't need anything. I can't afford anything. It doesn't matter if they had it or not. Okay. Now, at this point, you can see that this is still flexible here. I can't really do anything about that. There's not much support in it, but I'm never going to have anything on here heavier than a cardstock house. I'm also going to have that diagonal piece that I'm about to put in here in the middle. And every one of these that I glue on, whether you use hot glue or white glue, every one of these that you glue on makes all of these, the whole box, a little more stable and a little more rigid. Now, I do need to take all of these excess pieces off the side here, so let me get those cut off real quick. Let's put that one in the rubble bin. That one's so small, I'm not sure it needs to even come off. Nope, there it goes. That one's too thin. That's not even rubble. That's like paper thin. Okay, so that's that side, and there should be 3 more to go, or 2 more to go. Already done that side. Trim that side, we're good. And this one should have, no? Okay. that's too small. Toss that. Okay, now I'm going to try to put this in as accurately as possible. This needs to be at 45 degrees. Now I know that I'm using this line as my center. So, wow, the marker I used, really, the ink in markers can melt this foam. So I don't know if you can see it, but this line has a distinct ridge in it. So you want to be careful of that. But I already knew I was going to be covering all this up with tiles, so I don't care. So I need to get this as close to 45 degrees as possible. What I'm going to do is use that line as my marker for both opposite corners on this tile. I'm going to butt it closer to the front than the back. So I'm going to start from here and work that way. And if it doesn't meet up at the back, I don't care. I just flat don't care. Okay, so there's one. Now I need to butt them up against that one to see if I want to go 4 out or if I can go further. I don't think I can get 4 further. I think I can do 4. So if I go 4 out each direction, give or take, that's 3. That's 1 in the center, 2, 3, 4. I was going to bust it up. I'll put you in the rubble. You in the rubble. I know my drawl's weird, so I'm saying rubble, not rebel. Yeah, that looks like it's going to be about perfect. I'm going to go 4 by 4 on that centerpiece. And I am going to not care about the size of them. If the outside looks wiggly, I don't care. I am going to make the inside pretty much be a perfect square. And the outside edge, I don't care. So I'm going to make do with all that later with the herringbone brick pattern I'm doing outside of there. Now, Dungeon Matron is playing in a I say D&D, in a game right now, and their weekly game interferes with this. Unfortunately, she does not get to hear my this live stream live. So, but just for when she hears this after the fact, know that this is going to be herringbone. I know I've said it. If you've gotten this far, you already know, and you've probably squeed several times. But just know this is going to be herringbone in all the gaps here with my irregularly sized bricks. But it's going to be as close to herringbone as I can get it with those. Squeeing is good. We like to squee. Squee over many gaming things many times. I watched a thing this morning, well, this early afternoon. Dungeon Matron watched that as well. Carl Makes Stuff had Pete from Tales from Elsewhere. I hope I got his name and the name of the game correct. He's writing a system that will be usable in different settings, but his first setting is a Weird West setting, and sounds like that game is going to be ballin'. Not my style. I'm not really big on anything with guns at all, but the game still sounds like it's going to be a blast. Pardon the pun. Didn't mean that like that. Blast. Guns. I get it. Yep. I've already screwed this up, and that is okay. I am peachy with that. All right. So we are going to take that, and this side needs to be narrow ones, and this needs to be wider ones, and that's going to be about as close as we're going to get to square. You're going to take those and tuck those all in just like that. So, since I know those are going there, I will take this one. And even though it is slightly off center both directions, it will help me to set those others where they need to set. Again, this is all prototype, and I don't care if this completely screws up because lessons will be learned. That is why I'm doing this. You can see how flexy this is. I should have gotten more support in there. Again, lessons are being learned. Cool figure model kits out of the sale. Nice. We grabbed more horror stuff for our collection. Always fun. Always fun. Yeah, so always good when you can get deals, even if it's such a sad reason. Again, that's loosely collected saying that. Went to a FLGS that's closing down, friendly local game shop, or comic shop in this case, closing down, and some horror stuff and some other model mini stuff, and some shelving units. So that's kind of cool. Plus, they went to a good home. I hope that the people who are having to shut down, which sucks for them, but I hope they're glad that a fan or similarly minded individual is getting those. So okay, so there you go. This is designed by my design. This is, I said I was going to cut from here and I should have trimmed it off, but that's okay because we've got a little bit of a float back here. And since I'm going to trim these off, I'll have a little bit of a float on here. It looks like I meant to do it that way. This has a more broken up pattern. That is due to a suggestion from Mrs. Lynn. I think it looks good. And the rest of this is going to be herringbone. This centerpiece is going to be square tiles, but smaller, just like this from my previous city build. So I'm going to grab like 16 of those and start sticking those in the middle, work from the middle out. I'm going to trim these off first and then go grab those other tiles. Use anything as a straight edge, doesn't really matter. Now these, like I said, I was only putting glue on part of them, so these should all come off pretty easily. But should is famous last words around me. Okay, so that should pop up. Should. Okay. Well, I don't mind prying these loose. I don't care if these break, because they're all going in the rubble bin. And who doesn't have their... What good is rubble if it's not broken, right? Okay, so those little pieces will go there, one there, and I got one more to pry off of here. And I know this one's glued, so I gotta kind of trim it. Oh, snapped it. Again, doesn't matter. It's all going in the rubble pile. There we go. Rubble, 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 rubble. Okay, that's not how that's saying. Okay, now let me go get like 16 of these little squares. I will be right back. Not really going anywhere. I can still talk to y'all. It's just that I'm moving away from my table. All right, where's my squares? There they are. Okay. I think that was a good idea, Lynn. Lynn gave me the good idea to break up all these patterns doing that. That is way more than 16. Okay. One line of glue. Huh. I forgot. These are 5 centimeters, or 5 millimeters, 8 centimeters, 10. Ugh. It's going to be 20 by 20 instead of 16, it's going to be 20 pieces, 25 pieces instead of 16 is what I'm trying to say. Wow. With the English, Cross does not know language or maths. Oops. Come on now. I'm just going to shoehorn that beast in there and hope it sticks. And it's going to get a whole layer of my base coat, which has PVA in it anyway. So that's all going to stick down and be coated over. By the time it's all said and done, none of this is going anywhere. Plus, you can always go, the town's in slight disrepair. Civic Patrol hasn't come by and fixed the streets yet or whatever. I don't know, Civic Patrol's not the right word, but you get what I mean. Okay. Come on, squish in there. You know you want to. That's your new home. You like it. Not even charging you rent. Come on now. Okay. I have mangled those in there. Good to go. Now I'm literally just going to fill this center with glue and glop these in as fast as I can so that I don't run out of time. Three more. You can do it, Cross. Come on now. And as he races for the finish line, the glue is drying. Will he make it in time? He doesn't care. It's all done for the ratings. Right. Okay, now that's going to try to glue itself to my hand, so I'm just going to leave my hand there to keep those flat while the glue sets up. Wow, that's warm. Yeah, the glue is hot. It's, hot glue, but I have it on a low temp setting, but when you sit your hand directly on it. All right, I think those are probably going to need to be trimmed off because I think those are going to stand a little too proud. Let me show you what I mean by that. Ugh, keep dropping these all over the floor. The glue wisps off of me. Man, I'm a real crafter. I got glue all over me. I burnt myself. I'm covered in dye. Okay. Now, this one managed the glue setup before that one actually got glued down in. So that one's all jacked up. So I'm definitely going to have to trim that one off. The rest of these, like this one, I'm probably going to trim those as well. So literally all I'm going to do is take my knife, take a different knife, sit that on top of these tiles, slide it across. I'm cutting towards myself, but I got my hand way out of the way over here. So if I suddenly whack a thumb off or whatever, don't worry. I'll go to commercial or something. But I have the feeling I'm going to be fine. There we go. Take all of that, shove it to the rubble pile, put the knife away. I sliced into this tile, so we're going to see if that's going to make it bad. Nope. We're going to use that as texture. I actually kind of like how that turned out. We're going to leave that divot there. Now these are going to need to be textured. And so since the knife lines are too straight across, I'm going to go in from a couple different directions here. And move that up. And I'm also going to grab somewhere. I've got my texturing tool. I don't know what I did with them. Well, I was going to use an aluminum ball, run it over that, but I can't seem to find one. But I do know where I have a rock. So we'll use a rock instead of an aluminum ball. Oh, even better. Piece of bark. And we are going to put some texture into that. And that is going to be it for tonight, I think, because if I go into another stage, I'm going to be here all night. And I like to keep it to an hour and a half. And I know some other people got to get up for work and all that. So I'm going to start heading towards being done. So I'm going to take all of my rubble and put it in my little rubble collection tin or bowl or whatever. I don't know what I can use that for, but I'll figure out something. All right, so we're going to take all of that, put that up there, put that off to the side, and throw bricks all over the floor. Many cuss words are happening in my mind right now, but I will spare y'all. I got a mantra I live by around here, that if it goes on the floor, it's dead to me and I throw it out. But I did that, so that's my fault. So I'm gonna have to pick those up. All right, so let me put this bark back. And then I'm going to switch cameras and tell all of you lovely people good night. All right, so I didn't even cuss on camera. Checking me out. I'm maturing in my dotage or dottage or however that word's pronounced. All right, so made good time. Got the lid. Wow, that glare is bad. Put the lid on it. Put the border on it. Decided I was going to make a coping here. Did that. So there's a lip there. Going to be breaking this and this later. I will be doing all of this, to the best of my knowledge. I'm going to be doing all of this on live stream. So this will sit just like this over the week. When I come back, I will be putting regular brickwork here and here, and probably regular brickwork or tile work all the way around. And then herringbone in all of this pattern here. So this will be a herringbone similar to that other one I showed earlier in the thing. You didn't see it? Sorry, I'll have to go back and look at it. But these will be regular bricks, but all at a diagonal all across here. So, hope you've been enjoying it. This is Campaign Terrain. As ever, I'm your host, That Guy Cross. Welcome to my basement. You can come in anytime. I've also got a Discord, some other stuff down in the down below is down there. If you want to support me, great. If not, and that's, I mean, financially, great. There's links to that. If you don't, that's also great. I'm going to give out this information anyway. So please come by the Discord, link down below, and hang out. And I'll see you next week. Until next time, I love you. And I wish you luck in your campaign, both on the table and in real life. Have a great night.